I've got two questions. The first is for Brendan and Anthony. Brendan, you mentioned 1% improvement in slugging percentage. I'd love to hear from both your perspectives at the major league level and at the collegiate level. What does 1% improvement mean to an athlete as you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, you're at the highest level, right? Everybody's looking for something. For me, it's like 1%. And why do I want 1%? Why do I want to hit the ball 1% harder? It's because if I hit the ball 1% harder on average, my expected slugging percentage goes up by 25 points. 25 points is a lot of points, especially in a business where you can get to arbitration or free agency. That's talking about setting your family up for success. Not to mention helping your team, the production that fly out to the warning track you talked about, that ground ball in the 4-hole. Now that there's not shift rules, that ground ball in the 4-hole may get through if I hit it 1% harder. Over the course of 162 games in the postseason, that is a huge difference.
Yeah, for me, the way I look at that is in college, I mean, at every level, you're battling against the guys next to you. So if you guys have the same skill level, you guys same strength, same everything, and you throw that mouthpiece in and you're 1% better than them, that'll show up on the field, and that could cause you to be a starter or not be a starter. Or if you're not using it and the other guy's wearing it, he could be hitting the ball better than you. So that's the way I look at it. That's that extra edge that you can get against your peers. So that's the way I look at it.
Great. Second question is for Dan. I know you've talked about certain athletes at Duke, some that have seen physical benefits, some that have seen more psychological or emotional benefits. Can you talk about the distinction and how different athletes have responded to it?
Yeah. As I mentioned earlier, I think the qualitative feedback that we've gotten has been really positive, but people have had positive experiences in different ways. I think we spend a lot of time with all of our teams trying to get them to understand how the physical development piece will help the mental game for their sport, and how the recovery piece helps the physical and the mental game for their sports. So it's really kind of a cyclical nature thing, right? If we're trying to help these athletes get better throughout the day, throughout the week, throughout the training phase, throughout the off season, preseason, in season, I think there's so many different areas that an athlete can benefit with this type of thing. I think one of the things that we saw that both of these guys alluded to when they were talking about being in high pressure situations is that idea of consistency and relaxation. That to me is not separated between physical and mental and emotional. You don't do anything in sports in a vacuum. You're not in a tunnel. Things are happening physically and mentally and emotionally all at the same time. So if we can build in some consistency and some relaxation with something like this, it allows athletes to get out of their heads and get into their breath. And that's one of the kind of catchphrases we use. Before we started using AIRWAAV, we were already thinking that way. And what does that mean? It means they use their breath to hit the reset button, to get themselves relaxed physically, mentally, and emotionally, and to start thinking tactically in high pressure situations and not thinking emotionally, not thinking with those kind of no phrases, getting organized in their thinking so they can be present in competition. So we've seen positive feedback in those areas individually, but I don't think we've had anyone that said, hey, it really helps me emotionally, but it doesn't help me physically. I think the athletes are pretty self-aware and they understand that if it helps them emotionally, it is also helping them physically and vice versa.